The cosmic ocean of Kshir Sagar finally parted, and Lord Dhanvantari emerged from the churning waves. In his hands rested the absolute pinnacle of their grueling labor, a singular glowing urn containing the Amrit, the nectar of eternal life. The collaborative spirit of the churning vanished the moment the golden light of the nectar hit the eyes of the gathered armies. Every Deva and Asura was suddenly gripped by the single-minded desire to possess the urn for themselves. Before the gods could register the shift, the most powerful Asuras lunged forward. They ripped the urn from Dhanvantari's hands and bolted toward the shadowy depths of the underworld. The great eagle Garuda launched into the sky, tearing after the thieves at high speed. As he collided with the fleeing Asuras in mid-air, their struggle shook the urn, causing a few precious drops of immortality to spill onto the earth below. Centuries later, millions still converge on the riverbank at Prayagraj, driven by the belief that the water carries the echo of those falling drops. This massive gathering at the Kumbh Mela serves as a living connection to that ancient celestial struggle. The legacy continues through Haridwar, Ujjain, and Nashik. These locations became permanent anchors for those seeking a touch of the divine, marking the exact spots where immortality allegedly touched the soil. While humanity continues to celebrate these few spilled drops, the Devas faced a grim reality. The Asuras had successfully secured the rest of the nectar in the heart of the underworld. Deep within the fortified realm of Patal, the Asuras held the universe's ultimate weapon. If they drank the Amrit, their power would become absolute and eternal, leaving the Devas no hope of reclamation. But the moment they prepared to drink, the alliance fractured. The supreme commanders insisted on taking the first sips, immediately alienating the soldiers who had provided the physical labor for the churning. The weaker Asuras drew their weapons on their own leaders. They screamed that they had shared the burden of the mountain and deserved an equal share of the prize. The camp dissolved into an angry armed standoff. Fear of betrayal paralyzed the entire group. No one dared to drink, as doing so would leave them vulnerable to an attack from their own kin, leaving the urn untouched in the center of the dispute. Possession of the prize proved useless without the unity required to use it. Their shared greed effectively neutralized the power they had worked so hard to steal. Up in the heavens, the Devas realized their time was running out. They approached Lord Vishnu, pleading for a way to recover the nectar before the Asuras resolved their internal conflict. Vishnu recognized that physical force could not pierce the underworld stronghold. Instead of a direct assault, he chose to utilize Maya, the power to manipulate perception and weave a flawless illusion. Vishnu manifested as Mohini, an avatar designed to overwhelm the senses. She radiated a charm so profound that reality itself seemed to bend. When Mohini entered the underworld, the bickering Asuras were instantly captivated. The violent tension evaporated as they fell under her hypnotic influence, their attention entirely diverted from the nectar. She played on their vanity, convincing these fierce warriors that only someone as impartial as her could distribute the nectar fairly. Mesmerized by the illusion, they handed the universe's most valuable object directly to her. The Asuras lost the war without a single arrow being fired. Their own desires acted as a blindfold, allowing Vishnu to walk out of their stronghold with the prize in hand. Mohini led the Devas to a secluded spot and began pouring the nectar into their cups. The Asuras, still trapped in a euphoric daze, simply watched the distribution without protest. Only the Asura Swarbanu remained suspicious. He watched the pouring and realized that the Devas were receiving the immortality meant for his people. Swarbanu changed his appearance, mimicking the radiant glow of a god. He moved quietly through the ranks, sitting among the Devas to await his share. Just as the nectar touched his lips, the sun and moon gods recognized his true nature. They alerted Vishnu to the presence of the impostor sitting in their midst. The Mohini illusion vanished. Vishnu summoned the Sudarshan chakra and hurled it with lethal precision, severing Swarbanu's neck before the nectar could reach his stomach. Because the nectar touched his throat, both head and body became immortal. This solar eclipse captures the head, Rahu, pursuing the sun in revenge. And in the lunar eclipse, his body, Ketu, pursues the moon, creating the repeating cycles of shadow we observe today. This single act of espionage introduced a permanent, repeating rhythm into the celestial clockwork, the periodic disappearance of the sun and moon. With the last of the Amrit consumed, the Devas stood fully restored. Their newfound immortality rippled through their ranks, and the time for deception ended. The recovery of their power brought a swift descent into cruelty. The gods, now invincible, no longer felt bound by the same rules of engagement that governed mortal combat. The Devas unleashed their celestial weapons against opponents who could no longer defend themselves. The sacred shores of the Kshir Sagar were buried beneath the bodies of the slaughtered Asuras in a one-sided slaughter. Absolute power turned the righteous Devas into a force of destruction as ruthless as their enemies, pushing the universe back into a state of dangerous imbalance. The Asura guru, Shukracharya, stood among the ruins of his army. His people had shared the heavy labor of the churning, only to be systematically exterminated once their usefulness ended. Shukracharya called upon Lord Shiva, the supreme judge. He argued that the Devas' treachery had violated the natural order and demanded a restoration of justice. Shiva recognized the validity of the guru's claim. A universe where one side is immortal and the other is erased cannot sustain itself. It violates the fundamental laws of nature. As the animation shows, Shiva acted as a central pivot to restore the scales. He granted Shukracharya the Mahamrityunjay mantra, the divine science capable of reviving the dead, ensuring the Asuras would not be permanently erased. Cosmic stability was not achieved by the victory of one side, but by ensuring a perpetual, carefully managed balance between light and shadow. The friction between the Devas and Asuras mirrors the internal struggle that defines human consciousness. Our constructive, selfless thoughts take the role of the Devas, while our impulses of greed and ego act as the Asuras. Both are necessary to initiate the churning of our daily lives. This mental churning produces the same dual results as the ancient myth: toxic stress and anger on one side, and flashes of profound brilliance and insight on the other. This suggests that the Amrit is not a literal prize to be won, but a state of spiritual success achieved only when we master our dual nature and remain unswayed by the illusions of the ego.